series that comes here. Looks like a great exit for Bill Wright, pulling away and starting to distance himself from the melee that is from behind and plunging back downhill into route. Big attack from the likes of Zoko, seeing if he could get to the inside of Michaela. Doesn't look like that one's going to quite work out, but things are hectic around this track. No matter where you look, there are battles going on.
Yeah, and you mentioned Soko, that's Benjamin Soko. The other Soko was Jordan Soko, who I think a few drivers are blaming for triggering the multi-car pile-up at the start of this race. Multiple cars, multiple laps down already. We only have 29 of our 41 starters left on the lead lap, and the overall lead is the driver you're watching on your screen right now, the number 2 of Jamie Fluke, who has a 4-second lead over a battle for second place. And Joe, if we pan back to that battle for second place between David Gaspers and Ove Trandre, I think Gaspers is actually carrying a little bit of damage on his nose.
I'm looking on our pictures. I can't quite see it from here. So if he is, it's very subtle, and little peaks and pokes from Ove Trandre is definitely keeping him honest. Gaspers is used to being in intense battles from the Formula Vs. As there's a big battle behind them. Looks like Bill Tyler and Topi Cortiniemi, one of our championship contenders from last season. Looks like Bill is going to be able to pull ahead, and Topi has to settle for 7th.
Just for clarification, as we're getting everything rebooted here, this is a lapped-based race, a 24-lap race. So right now they're working lap number 7. Of course, it's an iRacing official series, though, so they have a time limit on that too. There we go. Getting everything up and going here. So the battles continue throughout the field, and we've seen some big movers. We didn't really have a chance to read out the grid, but again, one of the big shockers was Rob Olyanek qualifying down in 20th, and he's up into 10th place. Emil Bernstorm has also worked his way up from 12th to 8th position. And honestly, Joe, I know we had a really ugly incident in the midfield and towards the back of the field at the opening corner, but it's been a fairly clean race by these drivers. Although, granted, we're not halfway yet. I'm sure the intensity is going to pick up as we get into the closing laps. That's a yellow curb on the exit of turn 1 there. You really don't want to hit that.
Yeah, even though these cars have a lot of suspension travel, they certainly don't like to be bounced around all that much. And once again, it seems like Ove Trandre gets so close, they can't quite make it stick. But he's definitely hassling David. Oh, he loses traction, though, off of Remus, and that'll cost him a few car lengths.
Yes, this is a battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th positions that we've been keeping an eye on pretty much ever since everything settled down after the opening lap. There hasn't really been a change for position. I'm wondering if Ove is almost concerned about the fact that if he did attempt to pass, that would throw Hugh Haycox right into the middle of it. Meanwhile, look at this going on right here, because I think that's a lapped car in front of these two that they're trying to work their way by.
Yeah, that was Trixier, who unfortunately got barged out of the way into Remus. Oh, and behind them, there's a big pileup. That looks like Grissinger and Lehman, unfortunately, just plowing into one another down into Power Horse. The 22 of Lehman able to get it going. And I think Grissinger is going to be able to putter away, but that's got to be big damage for both cars.
Yeah, again, no fast repairs in this official series, so they're going to have to repair that the hard way. As you can imagine, pit road has been a little bit of a busy place ever since the lap 1 incident. You can see 4 cars, I think, sitting in there getting repairs right now, and obviously we've already had some disconnections from the session. A nice little battle going on here down the back straight.
Yep, heading up into Remus, and it looks like Cortiniemi might be able to get this back from Tyler. He does. As he starts to pull away, can Tyler try to fight back? He'll have the slipstream. He's following him all the way down into Rauch as Cortiniemi tries to cover to the inside. Then he opens up the door, and Bill Tyler tries to send one down into the inside. Not going to be able to make that stick. It looks like he can't find the traction, but the battle continues. He's not giving up completely yet.
Yeah, well, this is, I'm sure, creating a bit of a headache for Topi here because he's, I'm sure, disappointed about his qualifying effort and wants to get a move on. Now, the nice thing is the way he positioned his car there, Emil kind of had to back off. He didn't entirely get through Power Horse that well. So I'm sure that Topi would like to break the draft, break the slipstream. These cars aren't the most aerodynamic things in the world, but it still makes a difference if you're able to build up a gap in front of the car in front of you. They can't tow you. That's just how wind works. So let's see if Topi can put a couple of good corners together. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to try and run down the number 8 car ahead of him, of Jean Van Wendt, who is currently holding on to 5th position.
He's kind of on his lonesome right now up there with nobody to battle, and I'm sure he'd like to keep it that way, as the 7 indeed does start to pull away from Bill Tyler. And you mentioned Bernstorff rather, is starting to catch up to them because of all that back and forth those two were experiencing. So that might not be over for the 11. Oh, as he tries to take a look to the inside of Remus, but can't get there.
Yeah, still keeping half an eye on the battle for 10th place as well, because there's a nice little pack, but this is definitely for a more prestigious position at this point in time, and also a little bit more intense as well, because they kind of close up under braking into the right-hander there.
Getting close to halfway done with this race. Love seeing, I talked about the suspension travel, just how the noses dip. Almost reminds me of NASCAR on road courses, with these cars really moving and swaying, and the drivers can feel it underneath them. Well, they can feel the wheel, at least, as they come out of vert down towards Rent. And once again, Bill Tyler getting close into the corners, but he's not able to get side by side.
You just made me envision a NASCAR race at the Red Bull Ring. And the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that NASCAR, I don't believe, would enforce track limits at all. Just how much they would be throwing them off in the final couple of corners there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they come through Lauda once again. I'm keeping half an eye on this, and also been watching Traingrade and Gaspers, because they've also got Haycox now very much with them. And actually, we might want to, yeah, here we go, right here. This is Traingrade with a great exit on Gaspers. He's going to pull the slipstream. Gaspers at first defends and then comes back to the racing line. So he must feel pretty good about how that car is accelerating away.
Yeah, Dave Gaspers, he has one of those iRatings in the 9,000s that I was talking about, so he certainly knows how to get around the racetrack, and it's probably going to be difficult to pressure him into a mistake. Right now, those two cars behind him have kind of just been sitting there for so long, it's not even a pressure anymore. It's not even something that comes to mind. I'm sure he just knows they're there in the background, and as we enter the second half of this race, I think he'll be a bit more aware that the passing attempts will ramp up a little bit, but I think right now he's happy just kind of leading this train, and I'm sure Ove and Hugh aren't going to do anything too silly, not at this stage of a race anyway, as they're working their way by more lap cars. Jamie Fluke lays the fastest lap of the race down at 1 minute 27. Of course, modern day F1 cars get around here in less than 1 minute 10. All right, let's see if Ove is about to undo everything I just said about how good and patient these drivers are being. And yep, sure enough, he's going to go for a move on the outside. Don't think that's going to work, because Dave Gaspers will be able to hug the apex. And in fact, the battle's now on for third, although that was a nice exit by Ove.
Whew, the Norwegian really managed to get the power down well. They're going to be side by side in the next corner as well, almost getting squeezed over as Gaspers gives him barely a car's width down to the braking. He'll have the inside, but can he get the launch off? He does, and so that one won't work for Ove, but now he's starting to put even more pressure on that green number 1.
Yeah, you can definitely make the outside work in those. Oh, as Dave really got bulked poorly by the lap car there. it would have been difficult for Ove to have pulled off what he did, but not impossible. It looked like coming out of turn 3 there that he really had it almost done, and then they got down to the bottom of a hill and Dave Gaspers retook control. So even though we are only halfway, Ove in particular demonstrating that he's definitely not content to run in third position right now as Jamie Fluke resets the fastest lap of a race. Haven't really seen any pass attempts made by Hugh Haycox yet. And we'll see if that changes. Things appear to be a little bit more broken up this time around.
Yeah. Hugh, the younger of the two Haycoxes, his father Ian is currently a little bit farther back in the field. He gets very close to the gearbox of Ove Trangaré, but doesn't show his nose. So you were talking about patience and being content. Well, doesn't seem to really want to try and risk anything quite yet. Maybe he's waiting for those two in front of him to battle again to get a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, I think he knows that if he tried to take third from Ove, he'd basically be faced with the same problem that Ove is right now, and that's trying to pass Dave Gaspers, which is going to be something very difficult to do. Again, Dave Gaspers has a massively high I rating, so he's not going to be intimidated into a mistake, and he's not going to be easy to pass, and Ove's aware of that, and I'm sure Hugh's aware of that. That being said, those two definitely have high I ratings too, so they're up to the challenge. And they're going to start running out of laps to do it, honestly, quite quickly, because the first half of this race has flown by in 17 minutes, and the second half of the race, in theory, should be over just as quickly.
Yeah, as we mentioned, we have seen Gaspers run on this channel before in multiple different series, including this one, but it's been many seasons since we've seen him, and showing he hasn't lost any pace whatsoever, though he gets a bit of a poor exit off of Lauda. Ove Trangaré is close behind, but he also got balked, I think, coming over the crest of that corner exit. So no attempt from any of the three into the corner. I feel a bit bad for the rest of the pack because we have been having some decent battles. It's just, this is so close for the podium positions. I don't think we can step away.
Yeah, well, due to the pace of Jamie Fluke, we will be able to give a shout out to some drivers running a bit further back because he's already running up in the mix of lap traffic. Motonori Shinoda has just gone a lap down in the number 39 machine. He's running in 25th place, so 24 of our 41 starters left on the lead lap, albeit I think we only have about 30 of them left in the race. You can see we have cars running out there with damage due to the size of that lap 1, turn 1 incident that took out multiple cars. So we'll see if a lap traffic interferes with this battle for second as they come up to put those guys a lap down.
A little bit of a slide from Ove. That's what we're used to seeing from him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of it on this new tire model that they've put on the car this season. That's been the big talk in the Lotus 49s. Unfortunately, a lot of drivers won't really get to, I guess, play with it this race because of the incident we saw at the start. But still, the front runners making good use of it and seem to have adapted to it quite quickly.
10 laps left to go as this draft train continues down the back straight. I wouldn't be surprised if the turnout for the next race is a little bit... Oh, we got a lap car off on the apex there. That looks like... Okay. That's not the first time we've seen him involved in trouble today. The problem now is trying to find a hole in which to pull back out on the track.
Yeah, and he's having to wait quite some time. That's probably a little bit blind there. Oh, he's going to tow it. So, yeah, I don't blame him. He's already had some trouble and too difficult without trying to cause another incident. The top, well, not the top three, second, third, and fourth, really. Continuing on. This is all about 8.5 seconds behind Jamie Fluke, our current leader, who has been leading from the pole position. And he is actually the number 2 car as well, based on I rating, nearly over 9,000 himself. So no wonder he has that black stripe. There you see him on screen, just plugging away, looking like he's got this win in hand. It's his to lose at this stage.
And just to emphasize how important qualifying can be, now I'll admit that I'm one of those drivers who doesn't always qualify or sometimes doesn't always start for the grid if I think turn one's going to be too chaotic. The top 17 cars right now all started in the top 20. So as we see the battle for second going on here, Ove Trandre pulling out, he gets his nose. In fact, actually, I think got his whole car ahead of Dave Gasper's under braking there. And now there's a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him, so maybe that's why he's trying to do this move now, but nothing's going to happen yet, so they filter back into the line. But that shows you, Joe, we're talking about how the Turn 1 incident has really defined a lot of this race, but it's really only been for the back half of the field. Everyone in the top 9 rows on the grid was basically able to get away okay.
Yeah, when we came back in, you said thankfully it was the back half of the field. I said, well, to myself, I thought not thankful for the back half because they're all basically done, or at least are picking up scraps from here on out. And I'm not sure that these front runners are going to leave much in the way of scraps. They have bolted away from the rest of the field, and it's such a short lap. Many have been experiencing these blue flags, which are informational only, but obviously this field, is someone spinning off. That was Andrew Ang getting out of the way, thankfully not causing any sort of incident amongst this battle for second. But most of the drivers here very concerned with sportsmanship and tend to be quite polite if possible, since this car is so difficult to handle at the best of times.
Yeah, I've seen a few drivers using that curb on the exit of turn 1 there, and I thought it would really be upsetting these cars, but doesn't seem to be. That is a horrible place to... Yeah, that's not the best execution there, and we're going to see contact. Oh, big contact.
Oh, no, and Hugh Haycox is the one that comes off the worst. Von Wentz is going to be able to get by him eventually. So poor Hugh Haycox, basically an innocent bystander. Oh, and that is Jordan Zocco, who is causing yet more headaches as David Gasper's had more trouble trying to get by as this battle Von Went and Haycox continues on. There you can see Jordan trying to just finish what he can out of this race, but the car not looking like it's in the best of conditions.
Yeah, it's not great execution from the lap traffic trying to let the leaders by. It's not exactly a difficult thing to do here at the Red Bull Ring. You just got to pull out the way on the straights and hand over the apexes to the leaders. Again, though, quite a wide spread in this race, with the highest ratings being 9,000s, the lowest being down there in the low 1,000s. And as a result, yeah, it's leading to a few headaches out there.
Yeah, Haycox is trying to get that spot back from Von Wentz. Thought maybe he'd get a chance with them going by the traffic yet again. That was Jordan they finally caught up to, but he was able to stay out of the way that time. Robert Reynolds, back row Bob, as they like to call him in this series. Now, is he going to be a little more polite? Yeah, see, he's a veteran in this one. He knows how to stay off the line, so he is going to allow all 3 of them actually through, because that is also Topi Cortinieri trying to come back into things, as it's a great exit from Hugh Haycox. I think he's going to be able to have something on Jorn Von Wentz, and I don't think Jorn is even going to battle it that much. He pulls off and lets him through.
Yeah, well, he would have seen what happened to Hugh last lap and probably knows that he's driving a little bit angry. He has a little bit more pace than him, and maybe he's thinking, it's the first race of the season. I really don't need to be getting myself involved here. Unfortunately, I think it has broken up our battle for second, third, and fourth, even though they're still running in those positions, just a different way around now. Dave Gasper's in second, 4 seconds over Ove Trandre in third, who's got a little bit of time over Hugh Haycox now. I wonder if Jean Von Wentz didn't want to put up a fight against Hugh Haycox because he needs his help to kind of try and pull away from Topi Cortinemi here, because right now Topi's quite close behind. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th you see in your screen. Is it just me, or are they all rocking red crash helmets? Topi's orange. Okay.
Yeah, Well, that's a shade of red, I guess you could say. As we come through up towards Remus once again. This finally gives us a chance to look a little bit farther back, but unfortunately, all those hot battles have dissipated as well. Although this one between Bill Wright and Miko Michaela is still going on for 11th. They go by the lapped car of Robert Reynolds as well. Just in front of him by a couple seconds has been Zoko. Big shout out to our current champion who's having not quite the race I'm sure he expected coming back. That tells you just how steep the competition has gotten in this large field here today. And there's been breaking down on his own in that number 12 machine, taking it through route himself, thankfully away from this battle behind him, so he just has to finish up these last 6 laps and keep it clean.
Yeah, it was being a fairly clean race from most of the front half of the field today. The only survivor, really, from the back half of the field is Harry Ware. And I'll give him a shout out because he's the last car in the lead lap right now in 20th place in the number 36 car. I think it's a bit scratched up on the front end, but he started 30th. So he found his way through all the carnage on the opening lap. And if he could just keep it going for 5 more laps, we'll come out of this race with a decent finish.
And with all the laps, too, because Jamie Fluke is catching, but I don't think he'll catch in about 5 laps. He's still got about half a straightaway to go here. So he might still bring this one home with every lap finished. So we were talking about that battle, though.
Oh, we got trouble in turn 1. Motonori Shinoda's just been run over.
And Bill Wright was way off track. Was he the one that ran him over?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and he's crabbing down the straight. Bill Wright had been running in 11th position.
Ooh, this is a monstrous hit if we want to see a replay on this one. He's actually very lucky he landed all 4 wheels on the right side. Let's see if we can pull this one up. The 27 still continuing on. Started in 13th and is now back to 13th, unfortunately, after fighting for a top 10. And here it is right here. Wow. Oh, he nearly wound up on his lid.
And for those of you wondering what happened at the start of a race, it was something very similar to that, just multiplied 20 times.
Yeah, really. Here's one more look at it. Just hit the tires in a bad way. Maybe didn't expect him to brake as early as he did, because it looked like he was going to be able to make the corner. Just unfortunately, things happen a little too quickly, as these cars often do. 4 laps to go now. Oh, wow. Wow. I am actually impressed that he's able to drive this thing back. Is he going to take it into the pits? No. He's going to try to drive this home. Holy cow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a clockwise circuit, so most of the turns go to the right. So actually, this helps him on corner entry.
At least on most of the corners, I guess. There's only, what, 2 left-handers here? So, as we watch him somehow make his way through Lauda on board, he's just going to let cars by, most likely. You can see him pulling off the racing line a little bit to try and make sure that nobody has too many issues.
Yeah, speaking of someone with issues, I think Ove Tradre, even though he got away from, as we see a car off there, even though he got away from that incident we saw in 3rd place, not as bad as Hugh Haycock's, I think his car is damaged a bit more than Hugh's, because his lap times have been a little off. And you can see this battle, where we thought Ove had this down in 3rd place, but a battle is now forming between himself in 3rd and the cars behind him in 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah, Hugh's starting to catch up to get back into the fray. He's got about 9/10 of a second, so he's really got to hustle, because he's only got 3 laps left. But he's also being chased by Von Wendt still, who's not giving up the ghost and following him through. And how about this? 2nd place in the championship last season, Toby Cortiemi up into 6th spot and now starting to hound those ahead of him.
Yeah, and Topi, I'm not sure how aggressive he'll want to be here, but I'm sure he wasn't too pleased with the fact that he qualified down there in 7th position when he was a championship contender last season. And here he is. He's only moved up 1 spot. He's in 6th, but yet there's an opportunity to get up to 3rd. Now there's a lap car going to get in the way here.
Yeah, that is, I believe, Massa. That's Eugenio Massa. He's another veteran of the series. He knows what's going on, so I think he timed that just about right, though it looks scary from our perspective. Thankfully, nothing became of it. Von Wentz getting ever closer to Haycock, so as hard as that number 4 is charging, he's got to watch out. One little mistake, and he could hand that spot right back.
Yeah, well, one of the problems with being lap traffic on iRacing is the default position for your F3 screen, as Jamie Fluke once again sets the fastest lap. The default position for your F3 screen only tells you the next 3 cars behind you. So if you have a pack of more than 3 cars coming up behind to put your lap down, you might not necessarily know how big that pack is.
That's a good point. So as they work their way through Lauda, past Michael Berg, lapped car, just letting them all go. Up the hill, Trangrade looking pretty good, and Haycock's as well, with Jorn not able to get the exit he would have wanted. We're down to 2 laps to go now. A little bit of wheel spin from Hugh Haycock's off the corner, but he manages it well.
Yeah, about 1.5 laps to go, honestly, for the leader, Jamie Fluke. He's so far ahead of this battle that we've been watching, and he did just put Harry Ware a lap down. So, but he's still in 20th, though. 19 cars left on the lead lap, less than half of the starters.
Well, we expected many of them to get lapped here today, just not in the fashion that they wound up having it happen. Meanwhile, continue to watch the number 4 of Hugh Haycock's behind Ove Trangrade. He is faster than him. He's cut it down to half a second now, but he's only going to have 1 lap to try and do it. And there's only a couple corners where you can really pass, even in these cars.
Yep, so they go, getting ready to start the final lap. They do have quite a bit of lap traffic today, which has been a headache for everyone who hasn't been the lap car. And so let's see how that interferes as they start the final lap.
So 1 more to go here in the season opener for the Grand Prix Legends Series. And Spielberg has given us such a great race, although not for some of those in the back, as they have had to either retire earlier, take extensive repairs to get back out there on the circuit. Nobody changing position this time, but now they catch up. Oh, and a mistake into the corner. Ove Trangrade goes wide, and Haycock's pounces. They're going to go side by side.
Yeah, it seems like that car's been a little bit difficult to handle in the closing laps, and it finally caught up with him there, and Ove is going to lose a position. Hopefully, for his sake, that's all he's going to lose. Oh, we got a lap car spinning off. He's countering the attack. But, Joe, I think we got to go back up front because Jamie Fluke's entering the final corners.
I hate to have to leave this, but you are right. We got 2 corners to go for Jamie Fluke. Flawless day for the man with a black stripe. And coming out of A1, he is going to win the season opener for the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. As for that battle for second, Haycock's is still ahead of Trangrade, but barely. It is tight. 1 little off for any of these 4 could cost the spot.
Well, for third, Dave Gaspers will get second. It looks like Hugh Haycock is just going to hold on to it. As Ove Trangrade, though, he's carrying a bit of damage, and he's going to be able to salvage fourth with that. Talking about damage, Bill Wright finished the first car 1 lap down in that machine. We saw that been crabbing for the second half of the race. He finishes in 19th.
4 cars split by 0.5 of a second there at the end for the final step of the podium. Incredible stuff. The rest of them now coming through with Ben Zocco rounding out your top 10. And like you mentioned, only 18 left on the lead lap. I think the last battle between Michaela and Arabian means that we're going to wrap this up, but we're not done yet. We have our post-race show coming up, so stick around because we'll bring you the official race results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to the Red Bull Ring. We just watched the opening round of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And Jamie Fluke, who we've seen racing many of the retro cars here on the channel, has stepped into the Lotus 49s and dominated, winning by 13.5 seconds over David Gaspers, of all people. Not a slowpoke by any stretch of the imagination, but he will take second place. He had to fight for that one against guys like Hugh Haycox, who came in third, but it was Hugh who was barely ahead of Ove Trangrade, Joran Von Wendt, and Topi Kortiniemi. Those four cars were split by 0.5 of a second for third place at the line. Emil Bernstorff was in seventh as he gained 5 positions over the course of the race. Bill Tyler was eighth, and our season champion for season 3 wound up 9th after starting 20th, Rob Olenek. That was an unusual race for him. Ben Zoko rounded out your top 10.
Yeah, and then we come to page 2 here, positions 11 through 20, and I can tell you right now, a lot of these drivers, and pretty much all of these drivers, finished within a few positions of where they qualified. So despite all the chaos and great racing we saw, not a whole lot of comers and goers on it here. Miko Michaela finishes in 11th place. That's exactly where he started, ahead of Ferenc Arabian in 12th position. Ian Haycox came home in 13th place, ahead of Robin Brumer, and Robert Plumley rounds out your top 15. The biggest move on this page was Chris Hengler. He started 23rd and finished in 16th, ahead of John A. Lehman. Lost Olsen was the last car on the lead lap in 18th position, and then Bill Wright, despite a massive amount of damage on his car in the closing laps, came home in 19th place, ahead of Gary Till.
Bruce Nelson in 21st was followed by Eugenio Massa 22nd, Harry Weir 23rd, up from 30th position, 7th place gain for him. John Olsen finished P24, and then it's Shinoda in 25th. Andrew Ang managed P26, last car one lap down. Rousselet was in 27th. You've got Koivisto in 28th, and then from there, cars who got into serious trouble, Zoko 29th and Grissinger 30th. Everybody from there on down was either a DNF or had to take big repairs to get back out onto the track. We do have second place ready to talk to us. David Gaspers is joining us here for the post race. And coming in from the Formula V's as well as the Weekend Warriors SRF. He has shown himself to be fast in the Lotus 49 yet still. David, it's been a minute since we've seen you show up in these much faster cars, but I'm glad to see you. Question is, if you didn't have to fight off all those drivers fighting for that second place, do you think you could have kept up with Jamie Fluke?
Yeah, no way. I saw his time in qualifying, so I was going to try something on the start, but had a bit of wheel spin after a better start. And after he was already, I think, 8 tenths ahead after lap 1, I was just not bothering with him anymore and driving safely, just not taking any risks.
Yeah. Now as I mentioned multiple times, we've seen you so much in the Formula V and the Spec Racer Ford. Now those two are at least relatively similar. Jumping over this isn't apples to oranges. This is apples to pizza. I mean, what does it take to try and make that transition into a car with this much power compared to those other ones?
Well, you have to be more careful on the throttle level, but it's not that different, I think, especially compared to the old Spec Racer, where you had a more off-lift off-throttle oversteer.
Well, it was an impressive showing, no doubt. Are we going to see you a lot this season, or was this more of a one-off for you?
No, I was going to do the full season. I enjoy the car with the new tires. I just hope the traffic gets better the next races. This race had some awful situations.
We hope so as well. Yeah, that was an unusual start for this series, which is typically known for being incredibly clean. Congratulations on a podium, and can't wait to see more of you.
Yeah, thank you.
As David Gaspers in second place. And finishing sixth today, Sam has caught up with Topi Courtiniemi.
Yeah, Topi, I've got to imagine you're not too pleased with sixth because you had a lot of positions for the taking right in front of you at the end there.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was saying that I got to imagine you're not too pleased with sixth because third, fourth, and fifth were right in front of you at the line.
Yeah. I was kind of like waiting that they'd have a battle and an opportunity to open up, but that didn't happen. These guys knew what to do.
Yeah, we saw you fighting for the championship last season, but not a great start to the season. A solid start, a sixth place finish, but you qualified back there in seventh place. Were you expecting to be back there at seventh on the grid? I know you have a number 7 on your car.
Yeah, I just kind of like did a banker lap for the first qualifying lap, and the second one I got a 1x at the fast right-hander after the power horse, just cutting it a little bit too much. So yeah, I was expecting a better result, but nowadays there are so many fast drivers in the series that a podium is a victory in itself. I have to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid start to the season, a sixth place finish, and a long season as well. I believe we go to Okayama next week. You're looking forward to that track?
Yeah, it's a fun little track, short but technical track, and if I remember right, we had a pretty good racing last time we were there.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing you back in action next week. Congrats on the 6th, and hopefully we'll see you back on the podium soon.
Thank you.
That was Topi Courtiniemi, your 6th place finisher here today, Joe.
And it looks like that's going to be our last interview for today. So I guess everybody worn out with this new car and having fun wheeling it around. For that, we're going to close it up with a big thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But also, I want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that you see listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Julie Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sam, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race will be at Okayama. That'll be Saturday, September 25th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And just an hour or so's time, we've got Camel GT at Road America, a classic, and that'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.